Welcome to Farm Focus. In this video, you'll learn to create an invoice-based coding rule. The first thing to do when coding an invoice is to look at where you can create a coding rule. This will save you time in the future and ensure your coding is correct and consistent moving forward. So let's start with a basic coding rule. I want to create a coding rule so that moving forward, anytime Gallagher appears on an invoice, whether it be Farm Source, Farmlands or Rural Co, Farm Focus automatically codes it to repairs and maintenance, fences and yards. So how do I do that? Well, I start by coding it first, and then I go across here to my three magical dots and I select New Coding Rule. And here I'm in my New Coding Rule modal. This is where the coding rule will be established. I've got my criteria here on the left hand side. The first criteria specifies other party contains, and at the moment it contains farm supply store, but I want this coding rule to work across all my suppliers, so I'm going to bin this criteria. So the next criteria says line description contains. Here you can identify keywords that will form the base of your coding rule. In this instance, the keyword is Gallagher. Moving forward, every time Gallagher appears, I want Farm Focus to automatically code it to repairs and maintenance, fences and yard. I don't actually care what product it is. If it says Gallagher, it's R&M, fences and yard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all the other information except for the word Gallagher. My next criteria is my reference contains. Now the reference is likely to be different every time. I don't want my coding rule to be tripped up with this more detailed information, so I'm going to bin this as well. Next I move down to the action section. This is where you select whether you code the full amount to, a dollar amount to, or a percent amount to a specific code. In this instance, we're keeping the coding rule simple, so I'm going to code the full amount to. Here is my code, R&M fences and yards, and then my description here. Now the second hint is to delete the description here, because what I want it to do is retain the line description, and that way you're going to retain the valuable information that was originally in the line description here in all my reports moving forward, and then I save it. So back in the invoice, you'll see now in the next line, I've got the coding rule has automatically applied to the Gallagher geared reel. See how it's retained the valuable information from the line description? That is because retain the line description was selected when creating the coding rule. Now if I was looking at a different invoice, say a Rural Co or a Farmlands invoice, and it had Gallagher in it, this coding rule would apply to that as well. So what's some other information of interest? Well, you can always override a coding rule. Say for example, this Gallagher geared reel was actually for my garden. I can actually just overtype it and change the code. You can also delete or edit a coding rule if it's not working. To do that, you go into Settings, Codes, Invoice Coding Rules, and here are all my invoice coding rules. I can search if I want to for a particular coding rule. Here's the one though that I've just created. And again, I've got my three magical dots here. If I select into those, I can edit or delete the coding rule here. You can create more complex coding rules by having multiple criteria. I won't demonstrate this today, but for example, my electricity. If I go into here and edit this coding rule, you will see I've created a coding rule for my power company and specified the ICP number. And then down here, I've got a code here for electricity cowshed. That same invoice, I have a separate coding rule, this time for a separate ICP number, but this time the coding rule is for my irrigator. So you can create more complex coding rules if you wish, and don't forget, if they're not working as you thought they would, you can always edit them. So thank you for your time. If you need any further information, you can check out our help centre, which is here, or you can go to our chat bubble, or you can always speak to one of our friendly customer success team. Thanks for your time.